In 1872, the Seattle City Council passed Ordinance 32, which allowed the city to take people who were considered troublesome, chain them up, and put them to work cleaning the city streets. You think about the post-Civil War era, there was the building of the railroads, and a lot of people came out west looking for work. Frontier towns like Seattle were a magnet for manual laborers, and there was concern that they weren't the kind of good, upstanding citizens maybe that the pioneers had been. They were kind of a different ilk of folks. There was a strong desire to control this sort of huge surge of population. So in terms of who could go on a chain gang, it could be anybody basically the police didn't like. Petty criminals, people who patronized prostitutes, but generally the people who went on the gang were poor people. It was a criminal offense. If you were asked where you were going to spend the night and couldn't produce money that indicated you could afford a room, you could be put on the chain gang. It was hard work, it was brutal physically. A disproportionate number of minority people were threatened with a chain gang. A typical sentence would be 60 days, 63 days. You weren't given a uniform. You went on in the clothes you were arrested in, and you stayed in those clothes until they virtually were falling off you. These are leg irons from the Seattle Police Department of an earlier age. You would not want to walk in these, let alone wear them at all. Making Seattle a sort of scary place to hop off a freight train was part of the intention. One of the chain gang members was quoted in the newspaper as saying, "I'd rather be in hell than on the chain gang, but I'd rather be on the chain gang than in the Seattle jail." You could go around Seattle and identify many, many things that we benefit from today that were essentially helped by prison labor. They worked on the seawall on Front Street, which is First Avenue. They were used to build the new fire station down in Pioneer Square. They cleared the land that was used now for Jefferson Park on Beacon Hill. The chain gang was eventually phased out, although the ordinance that allowed a ball and chain to be put on prisoners didn't come out of the Seattle legal books until 1967. I think now people recognize that these issues are much more complicated. There's a social service element. So I think we've come a long way, but the mentality that created the chain gangs is still with us. One of the contingencies of being let off of the chain gang was you had to promise to leave Seattle and never come back.